A quick disclaimer before we begin. The PEMF podcast does not contain any medical advice, and the content provided is for informational purposes only. If you have any health concerns, please visit a healthcare professional. Welcome back to another episode of the PEMF podcast. Today's guest is living proof that rock bottom can be the beginning of something powerful. Allison Huff Ritchie is a tech turned wellness entrepreneur, infrared sauna expert, and the founder of SweatLounge in London. But just a few years ago, Allison was in a completely different place, in agonizing pain, barely able to move, ordering takeout 5 times a week, drinking to dull the pain, and feeling completely lost. But a trip back to the USA and 3 life-changing sessions in an infrared sauna. What happened next sparked a full transformation, not just in her body, but in her mindset, her career, and her purpose. But let's kick this off. Who are you and what brings you here today?
Well, thank you so much for having me. What an amazing opportunity to, talk to your listeners about just the absolute transformational power of using infrared light therapy as part of your lifestyle. So, God, what a crazy story. You're in your 20s and your 30s, you have a back injury. You just kind of say, oh, that was weird. You don't lift weights for a few months and then you move on with your life. Mm-hmm. Well, I spent almost my entire career working in technology solutions, cloud-based technology solutions all over the world. And in fact, that's why I moved to the UK 12 years ago. And when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I was having back pains. I had just flown back from the United States. It was just this pain that wouldn't go away in my back. I was 5 months pregnant. Went to get in the bath, lost complete control of my leg, had to call the ambulance, was laying on the floor. I tell people I was in labor with my daughter, my first daughter, for 3 days. Mm-hmm. And I would have rather done that again than the agony that was the pain in my back at that moment. Called the ambulance, went to the emergency room, had the MRI, met with the spinal surgeon. I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease. So my L4 and my L5 are tremendously prolapsed. And in fact, a couple of other discs on top of those are almost non-existent. And, as a pregnant lady, there's not much that they can do for you. It's just, here, take a paracetamol and good luck. Mm. And so I was just in complete and utter agony. I couldn't move. Gave birth to my daughter, and was just in the absolute worst mental and physical shape of my life. I suffered for over a year. I wasn't doing any of the things that I needed to do to recover and to be the best person I could be as a mother to my children because I was in complete agony. I was walking with a limp. The nerve was so compressed that I couldn't feel the entire front part of my leg. I was told that may or may not ever go away. That might be it. And I just had absolutely, in what was supposed to be the most joyful moment of your life when your children are young, I was absolutely miserable and depressed. I gained a ton of weight. I wasn't moving. I wasn't cooking. My life's passion is cooking, outside of everything else. And I wasn't doing any of the things that sparked joy in my life. And it just so happened that we were in Austin, Texas, where my family live, for my 40th birthday. And there just so happened to be an infrared sauna studio across the street from my parents' house. And I thought, I'd read a little bit about infrared. All I had found on infrared specifically was the infrared sauna blankets. And those are, quite expensive to buy outright. And there were, not too many places in London that had infrared saunas. And I tried the one across the street from my parents' house, and they had an introductory offer. You go 3 times for a deal. Mm-hmm. I said, what do I have to lose? Mm-hmm. So I went. And there are moments in your life that you feel like the universe is speaking to you. And that was one of those moments of my life. It was one of the most profound moments when not only was my back pain completely gone, I thought, how can I now deliver this to people? How can I bring this solution to people who are suffering the same way that I'm suffering?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to do research. I mean, I was still in Texas and I started to do research. Where could I do this in London? Where is there infrared sauna in London?
Just talking about that first session of infrared sauna, what, because they come in all different shapes and sizes, as you probably know now. So
yes.
What was that first experience? So those 3 sauna sessions you had in America, what kind of sauna was that? How did that look?
It was a dome. So it was the same dome as what I have in my studio.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lay down, you were in your own private room. You were under a dome. The dome only comes up to your chest and you're breathing fresh air the entire time.
Because when you say sauna, a lot of people think about the cabins. You open the door, you get in a cabin and you get infrared saunas in those types, but this is more on your own, laying down in a dome.
Yes. If we think about what you're looking to achieve as part of using heat as part of your lifestyle. So just to take a step back. So when we think about heat as a lifestyle intervention, heat is as profound to your longevity as diet and exercise. And what do we mean by longevity? What does longevity mean? So longevity is the pursuit of avoidance of chronic disease and death as we move into the second chapter of our lives. So heat as part of a lifestyle intervention, and we know this because we've been observing Finnish people for over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 40 plus year long studies on the inclusion of heat as part of your lifestyle. If you use sauna regularly, you reduce your risk of all causes of mortality by 40%. And that includes insulin resistance and diabetes. You reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by 49%. You reduce your risk of cardiovascular death by 60%. You reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease and dementia by 66%. And there's a lot of different reasons why those outcomes occur. But essentially the core of what you're looking to achieve as part of this is raising your core body temperature. So that's a hormesis experience known as hyperthermia, mm-hmm. right? Not dissimilar to what you would experience if you had a fever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the pursuit of raising your core body temperature, there are 3 main modalities of heat that achieve that end result. There's Finnish sauna,
mm-hmm.
there's steam room, and there's infrared. All 3 of those deliver the same outcome, which is raising your core body temperature. Now, if we think about in a traditional sauna setting, so Finnish sauna, for example, if we think about that, you are counting on a very hot ambient temperature for that to raise your core body temperature. So what that means is the vast majority of the studies around the efficacy of using heat as a hormesis experience have subjects in a Finnish sauna for 76 plus degrees centigrade or 176 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes.
Mm.
Most people can't tolerate that for long enough. Most people, when I ask people, do you do sauna? Oh, I love sauna. How talk to me about how you do sauna. I go in there for 5 to 10 minutes and I get out.
I think it's the breathing is a lot of people's problems. That's the thing that I notice the most, especially when you go in a really, really hot sauna and you've just tipped loads of water, because that's the first thing you do is you go in there and macho, stick a bucket of water over the coals, that sort of thing, and the heat that comes off it, then it makes it really difficult to breathe.
Correct.
So some people almost is like a, fight or flight kind of reaction and they want to get out. So it's one of the ways in which people only spend a short amount of time in there.
For the vast majority of people who haven't grown up in sauna culture, they actually find it quite uncomfortable and quite difficult in order for them to maintain in that environment for the amount of time for it to achieve the end result, which is raising your core body temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the beautiful thing about infrared light therapy, infrared sauna, it is using the electromagnetic spectrum to heat your body from the inside out. And what that means is that in a traditional infrared cabin, as you suggested, the ambient temperature for that is significantly lower than what you would have in like a traditional Finnish sauna. In fact, we run our saunas, our cabin saunas at SweatLounge anywhere from 50 to 60 degrees. And that's just based on personal preference. You actually don't have any intrinsic health benefits making it hotter. It's just because people might like it that way.
Yeah.
But the way that we are exposing heat therapy to people who cannot tolerate hot air full stop is by the fact that we have the only solution in the UK where people are in domes. They're in their own private rooms. They're laid down. The dome only comes up to your chest. You're breathing fresh air the entire time. So what that means, and you've tried it.
Yeah. So I've experienced it. It's a great experience. It's good that we did that before this podcast because, we can talk about how
it's hot.
Combination of the two. Yeah.
It's hot. It's like you're a hot little rotisserie chicken in there. But you're breathing fresh air the entire time. So what that means is that whereas a traditional sauna experience, you would typically leave after 20 minutes, in our solution, in our studio, our sessions are 30 minutes long. So what that means is you've got a higher rate of where your body is producing additional plasma, which we can get into in a bit and why that's important. You're producing more heat shock proteins, which is one of the most profound things that you can do to reduce chronic inflammation inside of your body. You're producing far more endorphins, which helps you sleep better, helps your mood. And you're having a fantastic experience. You're burning more calories because you're in there for 30 minutes. Infrared sauna is a complement to your wellness routine. It is not there to replace anything. It's there to make everything that else you're doing better. I like to say that we are a cog in the wellness machine. However, I track everything on my Oura Ring, as you do. And I will burn more calories laid in the infrared sauna for half an hour than I do in the same amount of time during a strength training session or Pilates, by about 15 to 20%.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Which is it's a nice benefit. It's a nice peripheral benefit. It's not why you're there.
I mean, a nice benefit I had which I wasn't expecting so much is when I got out of one of your domes, you got these nice full body mirrors there, and I had a little look and I thought, wow, I look pretty chiseled. Like,
I bet you
did. Because you're sweating like profusely. I wasn't expecting to sweat that much. And I've done a lot of different saunas in the past. And, all the muscles are pumping out. And it's like, oh, this is great. But probably more of a temporary thing because of its water retention.
And we suggest you load back up after you finish, right? We've got electrolytes. We've got all of that. Like, please hydrate yourself afterwards. It's actually quite critical that you make sure. But you are drinking your electrolytes. We talked about that.
And that's the thing. Like, and I wasn't actually thinking to myself either that burning a lot of calories in there. So, that's another thing that is on top of this. Because when you was going through your darkest kind of points, you put on quite a lot of weight. Sorry,
Hey man, it's on Daily Mail. It's on the Telegraph. You can find it. We'll link to it on the website.
And you lost a lot of weight in this kind of biohacking journey and that sort of thing. And was the sauna there to help, or how?
Like I said, we're a cog in the machine, and so this is how I like to explain this to people. So, when I wasn't in pain, I was sleeping better. When I was sleeping better, I was making better food decisions the next day. When I was sleeping better and I wasn't in pain, I was going to the gym because I enjoy going to the gym. I couldn't. I was so completely paralyzed to do anything. And so once you have these different aspects of your life in a more productive manner, everything's going to fall into place. When I wasn't in pain, when I was sleeping, when I was making better eating decisions, then I could walk and I was walking around. When you walk more, your back feels better. When you lift, you put the structural integrity in place to support the different areas that need to be supported. Using infrared light therapy is medically proven to be one of the best ways to naturally provide pain relief. And when you're not in pain, you're sleeping. We know sleep is the cornerstone of everything. When your sleep is broken, everything's broken.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing that I think we as a society need to really have a long, hard look at ourselves about, is this grind culture and, not sleeping, because it will steal years from your life. Yeah.
And I agree. The big biohacker in the scene at the moment, Brian Johnson, we actually saw a talk with him recently, and his whole ethos is built around his sleep. Everything from the minute he gets up, it's all about how he's going to get to sleep that night, what time, and how he's going to sleep. And it's so important. It's such a cornerstone of the health and the start to everything. Like you say, if you're sleeping better, then you can start performing and doing everything the next day.
Exactly. I mean, it is when you're sleeping and you're making good dietary decisions and you're moving your body, it is a miracle what that does to your mental health. It is an absolute miracle, right? And regarding sleep, I mean, I'm part of the cult, man. All I care about is how am I going to get the best possible sleep at night. And I touched on this in my in couple of the articles that I've been written about. But the number one thing that changed my relationship with sleep and it changed my relationship with alcohol was this thing. It was my Aura Ring, because it gamifies the sleep, but you can quite acutely bear witness to what it means to have a good night of sleep.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I feel great. I worked really hard on having a really good night's sleep last night because I wanted to, be in peak form for you today. Yeah. And I feel like $1 million. I haven't had any coffee. And I have to remind myself, this is what a good night of sleep feels like. This is how I don't need the caffeine. I don't need the other things. I feel brilliant. And it's this ring.
Yeah.
Because I can see how much a glass of wine is going to cost me.
Yeah. And 100%. We actually talked about this on a couple of episodes back with Professor Green, and I talked about the Whoop band because, again, it's the same thing.
Same concept.
I mean, I don't wear mine at the moment because of the EMFs and things, and I want them to bring out a version. I think you can with the Aura Ring. You can put them into airplane mode and things, but for the information it gave me was completely invaluable. Like you say, and it changed my view on alcohol completely, because you can see what it costs you the next day. It literally does. You can have a great day. You can have 9 hours sleep. You can get up, and you feel okay. And then you put your data from your Whoop and your battery's on 10%. And you're like, how is that possible? And you think, well, I'd 2 beers last night. Just, it was Friday. I had 2 beers.
Yeah.
Destroys. It just absolutely destroys. And the day 11 tech at the moment is really important for people to see that, to understand it, and to see what it does to your body and to your statistics.
It's about making data-driven decisions. It's how I run my life. It's how I run my business.
Yeah.
Everything has to be a data-driven decision. I mean, maybe that's an echo of my previous life working in technology and helping other businesses make data-driven decisions. But I want to make data-driven decisions. And look, I still drink wine. I'll still have a margarita here or there, but I know the consequences of that.
Yeah.
I know what the price is going to be. And quite frankly, the juice is not the squeeze. Quite frankly, the juice is not worth the squeeze. A lot of times, especially when it comes to eating or drinking after a certain period of time. That's my new thing right now.
Yeah. I'm big on that as well. And I'm that guy that if someone books a restaurant at 8 o'clock, I really complain. I have to eat by 5 and 6, and then it gives give your body time to digest and get ready for bed. And again, it's something that you can see on the data from either a Whoop or an Aura Ring, that if you eat 9, 10 o'clock at night and then you go to bed,
about it.
It's just, your sleep stats are just destroyed.
If I think about my journey, the first thing I just wanted to focus on was sleep and sleep hygiene. So obviously, how much sleep? Am I getting enough sleep? And am I getting enough deep sleep? Am I getting enough REM sleep? Now, it's quite apparent that my heart rate variability is not great at the moment. I'm a mom. I've got 2 small kids. I'm running a business. I'm trying to scale this business. I'm trying to be a good partner to my husband and, be there for my family. I got a lot on my plate. So is that a consequence of that? Perhaps. But now I'm really focusing on my heart rate variability. And the 2 things that have really turned the dial for me is not eating after like 5:30, which is very sad because my life it's very difficult for me to not eat after 5:30. But I've noticed acutely if I don't eat after 5:30, like my heart rate variability literally went up 25 points last night. I couldn't believe it. I do have a sauna at my house. So doing the sauna at night before I go to bed seems to be helpful. And also, here's a little fun one. Which Tim Gray actually made a post about the other day, and I tested it last night, and I was like, oh no, because it means we're switching sides of the bed. But if you lay on your left side, if you lay on your left side, the way that your stomach and your esophagus is oriented inside of your body, you have less like acid reflux coming in and you get better sleep. So I made my husband switch with me last night. And I was like, I have an experiment. He's like, well, what happens if it works?
So you're going to let him sleep on the other side?
I'm like, well, you got to go to the other side.
Yeah.
Sorry, babe. But anyway, it was remarkable. Yeah. It really moved the dial. But I mean, look, you can get really neurotic about this stuff if you let it. And I look at biohacking as a way to help maximize my health and wellness in conjunction with the lifestyle decisions which I want to make. Because like I said, I still want to go out with my friends and have a good time. I'm 42. I can't do it like I was in my 20s, right? And the joke is, I had a really good time in my 20s and 30s, which is why I was like, oh no, I need to set up a longevity business now to offset like some of these, some of the times I had when I was younger. But, there are ways to, like I said, make data-driven decisions in terms of like, is it worth it? And B, can you kind of offset some of the lifestyle decisions that you've made? And that's kind of how I look at biohacking and in the longevity space, really.
So let me bring this back a couple of questions.
Yeah.
The weight loss.
Yes.
What was your secret to that? We talked about you improved your sleep. Was there a key takeaway for you that, or did you just stop eating?
No, I was definitely eating. And in fact, if you don't eat, it can have pretty negative consequences from a hormonal regulation perspective. So it is quite important that we are eating and we're eating at the right times, especially as women, especially as we move into perimenopause. It is important that there's a fantastic doctor. She's one of my friends. Her name is Dr. Amy Shaw. She's a really easy way to kind of put a framework around your dietary decisions. And it's a 30-33. So it's 30 grams of protein with each meal, 30 grams of fiber in a day, and 3 fermented foods a day. And, that's a North Star, right? You're not going to hit that every single day. But if that's what you aim to achieve, then you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else. And you're going to be feeling really good. And so that's kind of the principle that I typically try to follow, is making sure that I'm getting that. Now, ironically, the hardest thing for me is the fiber. 30 grams of fiber is a lot of fiber. It is a lot more than what you think it is. But I just keep it in the back of my mind and that's it. Now, in regards to the weight loss, I have a philosophy with my life and my business, and that is progress, not perfection. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
If you are doing great 80% of the time, then you should be really proud of yourself for that. For me, strength training is really important. I don't actually enjoy cardio. I do.
Who does?
I know it's awful.
Tell me someone who does.
So bad. Ironically, when I do cardio, I do intervals on the stair stepper, which is apparently like the worst one, but I'm fine with that. But I do cardio. I do intervals for my heart health. But strength training is for weight loss. There's no doubt about it. Your muscles are the metabolic engine of your body. Your basal metabolic rate, the more lean muscle mass composition that you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate is, which means that you burn more calories at rest, the more muscles that you have, than you do as having a higher body fat percentage. So by building up that lean muscle mass, you're already like increasing how many calories that you can consume in that day. So for me, it's I live in West London. I walk everywhere. And the beauty of living in London is that you can just walk to get to where you need to go, and all of a sudden you've done 15,000 steps in a day. And I love that. But I walk everywhere. I strength train 2 to 3 times a week. And I follow this 30-33 thing. And I try to chuck a interval training in there, if I can bear it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's not overcomplicated. It's all part of the puzzle. Like you said, start putting in these small biohacks, small changes to your diet, small, all these different things, and it just falls into place eventually. So, I mean, let me talk more about the saunas, because this is where your expert lies. So I really want to dig into this a little bit more.
Okay.
I've just bought an ice bath. We'll come to that later.
Oh.
I am looking at buying a sauna next, and I am torn between heat and infrared.
Okay.
So what would you give my advice? If I've only got space for 1-2 person max sauna, or maybe less, or dome, something like that, where should I go?
I have seen your gym. You can fit a 2-person in there.
Yeah.
And you should absolutely get, I suggest getting, within reason, obviously, I suggest getting the biggest that you can, because the reality is the more comfortable the solution is, the more often you're going to use it. And sauna is better than no sauna. So if you've only got space for, 1 person, then, certainly that's great. But you want to make it as comfortable as you can, because the more comfortable something is, the more you're going to use it.
Yeah.
It's human nature. Traditional finish versus infrared. So a couple of differences. So just if we think about, there's a couple of different ways that we can think about it. If we think about it from just like a pure play mechanics perspective, infrared saunas you can plug into the wall. You don't need any kind of specialist electrician to do it. It's plug and play. Infrared saunas can heat up quite quickly, whereas traditional saunas take quite a bit of time to heat up. And infrared saunas are extremely, particularly if you buy from like a high quality company, which I know you would, they're extremely low EMF. And they are extremely low energy usage, extremely low energy usage. So if we think about like, our environmental impact and, how we want to like exist on this planet with the other like 7.8 billion people that live on it with us, uses the least amount of energy. Now that's from like, just like a mechanics perspective. If we think about the physiological impact of infrared versus Finnish sauna, I mean, you don't see me having a Finnish sauna business. I would pick infrared light therapy any day of the week. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. So first and foremost, because the ambient temperature is lower, you are in the sauna for longer, which means that there is a force multiplier in regards to the health benefits. With the infrared, typically the infrared, now you also have a red light panel company, so you probably stick one in front. You do your PEMF and red light at the same time. So you're getting your red light. But a lot of infrared saunas now have red light panels inside. In fact, my cabin has red light panels inside. I think using infrared and red light at the same time are extremely complementary. So for people out there who, don't use infrared or red light, this is a great opportunity for them to really accelerate the health benefits between the two at the same time. We used to think that energy was simply from nutrition, but it's not. Energy comes from light, comes from the air, it comes from everywhere, right? And we know, and this is not woo-woo, this is medically substantiated science. We know that there are certain wavelengths of red light and infrared light that are actually absorbed by the mitochondria. Mitochondrial health is a hot topic at the moment. The reason being is that the less effective your mitochondria are, the more accelerated your aging process then becomes.
Mhm.
A lot of negative health issues are specifically related to dysfunction of the mitochondria. Your mitochondria will absorb energy from certain wavelengths of red light and infrared. And that will then, improve the efficacy of all those different functions inside of your body.
Mhm.
Positive benefit. We know that, so we live in a toxic era. The human body is bombarded with more toxins today than we have ever been bombarded with in the history of humanity. You cannot escape it. There is nothing that you are going to be able to do to fully escape the amount of toxins that are in our environment. The only way that you are able to address and mitigate the issues correlated to those toxins is to detoxify your body. Now, there is a lot of bad players out there talking about detoxification. The reality is that you've got two different kinds of toxins inside of your body. You've got, in a very basic distilled level, you've got water soluble toxins. So that's like alcohol. And you've got fat soluble toxins. So water soluble toxins, like alcohol, your kidneys, your liver deals with it. You sweat it out, you pee it out, you poop it out. It's gone. Unless you do it a lot, in which case then you give yourself fatty liver disease, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation. Fat soluble toxins. Okay. Heavy metals, cadmium, arsenic, lead, all of the forever chemicals, all the PFAS, everything PB, you name it. Those are all the forever chemicals. Your body is notorious for sequestering these fat soluble toxins in your fat cells. Very difficult to get rid of them. Very difficult to get rid of them. Exercise does get rid of them. Exercise is quite good for detoxifying the fat cells. But the other thing that's really fantastic for detoxifying those fat cells is infrared light therapy. So to go back to what happens when you use infrared light therapy. So infrared is, as I mentioned, it's heating your body at a cellular level. So what's happening is infrared light, which is the same thing that comes off the sun. 75% of the energy coming off the sun exists in the infrared spectrum, measurement spectrum. Infrared light is penetrating your body throughout. Some studies say up to 5 centimeters. Some studies say up to an inch and a half. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. But essentially, if we think about the fact that the infrared light is penetrating your body to that depth, that's where all of your subcutaneous fat is. So you've got subcutaneous fat, visceral fat. Your subcutaneous fat is sitting within that spectrum of where the infrared light is entering your body. When that happens, your fat cells are releasing those fat soluble toxins. They've run studies that essentially compare and contrast the same subject going from a traditional Finnish sauna to a steam room to an infrared sauna, same individual. And that individual, if they test the impurities contents of their sweat coming off of an infrared sauna, will have 7 to 10 exponential times more impurity contents in their sweat than they would in a traditional sauna. And, we have observed as recently as 2003, the Canadian Journal of Diabetes run a study talking about using infrared light therapy as a mechanism to address like diabetes related issues. So high blood pressure and waist circumference specifically. In a 12-week study, subjects had statistically significant reduction in their waist circumference and in lowering their blood pressure in the study. So where I'm trying to get to with this is that we know that if you use infrared light therapy on a regular and consistent basis, you will reduce your body fat composition.
No, it's amazing.
So don't get a Finnish sauna.
And that was information overload. That was great because, that's what I love about this podcast.
What was your guy called?
Sorry?
What's your guy called?
Which one?
Your editor?
Josh,
I got a lot of info for you, buddy.
So what I love about this podcast is meeting people like you. I learn so much. And it's an educational process throughout. Something I want to touch on, you said about low EMFs, and that's something that gets confused a lot with the whole PEMF and EMF. So just for our audience, I just wanted to explain a little bit that, especially when it comes to infrared saunas and infrared light and that sort of thing, they use quite high frequencies. But if not done correctly and with the wrong equipment, you tend to get dirty electricity, which is like high EMFs and that sort of thing. So it also does come down to purchasing the right equipment, good equipment. It's the same in the PEMF industry. We're seeing these cheap multi-therapy mats flooding the market, which, we've got one of those EMF meters and we've put it on top and it's just, almost
just
blown
total
up.
Garbage.
It's incredible. So I want to ask you a question similar, because where I've been looking at getting a sauna myself, and after using your dome sauna, I was like, I haven't sweat like I sweat in that in a normal kind of seating sauna before. And I started finding them online for £1,000, £2,000 and that sort of thing. And I wanted to know how that compares with what you've got. Because I remember you saying to me that you're just shipping some in from Sweden or something now, and it's a nice finish. And it's, so when looking at dome saunas, is there a range in terms of quality, or is any dome sauna you've seen are pretty good?
Well, I mean, as my mom always says, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
Right. And you definitely get what you pay for. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to try to achieve, you want to buy something with the end result of achieving a health outcome, and then you bought something that's just making it worse. Right. And, there is a lot out there. It's same as what you're seeing, right? There's a lot of bad actors out there selling, not quality, profound products. But this is why I set up the SweatLounge. So our mission as a company is to democratize access to longevity solutions that are typically only available to the elite. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can buy an infrared sauna, right? They can be quite expensive. If you want to use a best-in-class sauna, which is what I deliver to my community, it is going to cost you some money. And as such, maybe some people don't need to have one in their house. Maybe they can't fit one in their house. And this is literally the catalyst for why SweatLounge exists, because I wanted to create a place where people can come and use a best-in-class sauna, have a fantastic experience, really enjoy themselves, and then that's it. And it's a pay-as-you-go kind of scenario. It's a one-off. But there absolutely is a lot of there's a lot of bad actors out there in the sauna business, as you would expect, right? I mean, with more press, with more publications, you're going to get people who want to come in and take advantage of that. But like we have one studio today. It was my first studio. I'm opening up 2 additional sites this year. My goal is to have 50 SweatLounges across the United Kingdom. If people, my goal is to drive £500 million of cost off the NHS every year in the next 5 to 7 years. And if I want to do that, SweatLounge has to be everywhere. It has to be convenient. It has to be convenient, affordable, and accessible for people. And that is my mission. Is to make it convenient, affordable, and accessible. I'll put one in Canterbury. I'll put one next to the Korean barbecue restaurant.
There you go. The Korean cowgirl. Shout out to those guys. So and then that's the thing, because people want to do everything from home, and sometimes they want to just save money. But spending £1,000, £2,000 on one of these sauna domes, putting it at home, you're not necessarily doing your body any justice and squeezing all these things together, because we say it's all part of the puzzle. So if you want to do that, if you want to do ice baths, if you want to do PEMF, if you want to do red light therapy, then you don't have to set all that up at home. There are places now like SweatLounge that are popping up that give you access to come use that facilities, and the best possible facilities, and then go away from it.
Do we want to talk about the PEMF in Fulham?
That's it. So stacking therapies, and one of the reasons we started talking was because, you approached us and started saying, you're interested in looking at adding PEMF to what you do, because I do it myself. I do PEMF every morning. I do red light therapy, and that's got infrared in the panel. Doesn't get quite as hot as the saunas.
It's a near infrared.
So not far in.
It's not, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So it's not the heat kind of. It's not inducing the heat. So it's different to that. But putting therapies together, like we've said, as part of the puzzle is all comes with its own benefits, but also synergistic benefits. Synergy, yeah. And something you've seen quite a synergy with is PEMF and infrared saunas.
God bless Texas, man.
Mm-hmm.
God bless Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is arguably one of the top, thought leadership areas around, longevity medicine, longevity technology. And in fact, the last time I was in Austin, I went to a fantastic biohacking studio and they had PEMF, and I was like, what is this? I was really fascinated by it. And I started to look into it. And I've been looking for a PEMF partner in the UK for quite some time now, because for me, using PEMF in conjunction with infrared and red light therapy is going to force multiply the health outcomes that people are going to receive as part of the experience. And that's why I was so delighted to meet you, because I absolutely love what you guys are doing with your technology. It's incredibly vetted. It's UK built. It's the efficacy is defined. And I am really, are we going to talk about the commercial grade? And I'm excited to be able to showcase and to deliver in a democratized fashion the first Celerate commercial device in the United Kingdom.
Yeah. So what Allison's talking about
Take
is
that.
is our official maybe launch. Not sure if it had gone out by now, but there's the teaser for you. So we've got our signature UK made PEMF device, which is our low intensity, which we really designed for home use, but it can be used like inside saunas, which we'll talk about, that sort of thing. But we're also now about to release a high intensity PEMF device, which we can see more suited for professional settings where people aren't going to be using it every single day. They want to come in and use it once a week, or they want to use it before they use sauna and all these different modalities. So it's a chink in our armor that we've had for a little while, because we always talk about low intensity versus high intensity. It's not really team low, team high. There's benefits for both. Like you say, there's benefits for heat, there's benefits for infrared.
It's just a matter of, these are high quality machines. And there is a cost associated with these high quality machines. Because again, you would want to make that investment in the company that's delivering a solution, which is going to be giving you those outcomes, right? However, and not everybody is able to afford that for their home use. And so that is the beautiful thing about having, a studio where you can go and use something on a one-off, like a once a week kind of basis, which is going to help amplify your health goals. However, if we are looking at this as being a frequency of once a week kind of scenario, then obviously it needs to have a higher level of electromagnetic field than you would need if you were using it on an everyday basis.
Exactly. And we'll be talking about that on this podcast a little bit more in terms of the high versus low. We've got a nice episode set up for that. So, and it's the same thing in terms of, whether you need that at home. So you wouldn't go out and buy a £100,000 sauna for your home. Some people might, but
some people might. But
some people might.
I don't know them.
No, you don't. You don't really need that in your home setting. It's high intensity PEMF is great. It comes with its own benefits, but putting that in your everyday routine, for me, I would say is absolute overkill. So it's something that is much better suited for a professional setting. And when we talk about protocols for PEMF and infrared, we've mentioned this before, but using PEMF before any other therapy tends to make that therapy even more effective, because PEMF has this real great ability to separate the blood cells, which then allows your body to carry more oxygen, helps with the detox and all that sort of thing. So it's almost like preparing your body for the next thing that you're about to put it under. So using PEMF therapy in one of your new locations, before going into your infrared saunas, is not only going to give you the benefits of the PEMF therapy, but it's going to then accelerate the benefits of the infrared sauna. So
there's no doubt about it. And for me, there are a lot of benefits to PEMF. I want one in my house. No pressure. I will trade you. I will trade you a sauna for a PEMF. But for me, one of the most beautiful things that I love about PEMF, specifically if we think about women's longevity, is what it's going to do for your bone density and your bone health. If you are a woman and you fall over, your mortality rate within a year is not insignificant, right? As we get older. So what are the things that we as women should be doing to ensure that our bone health and our bone density is as high as possible, right? How are we gonna lower inflammation inside of our body? How are we gonna deal with lean muscle mass acquisition and maintenance? And I think that's why those two things just fit so beautifully together.
And I was on a podcast called Menopositive, which is talking about postmenopausal women and really drilling into the effects of PEMF therapy on bone health. PEMF therapy is something that passes through the body. So with infrared, it's great, but it does have a penetration depth. As we talked about, PEMF therapy can pass through and help with bone density and that sort of thing. So again, it's just a great modality, especially with postmenopausal women that are more susceptible to osteoporosis. Combining the two just makes absolute sense. And something that's a little bit more controversial we'll talk about on this podcast. Something you don't like combining with heat. We've talked about contrast therapy, and
we have talked about contrast therapy.
Yeah. And there's, I've got an ice bath at home. We've got Laura Fullerton coming on soon from Monk, who is going to talk about the benefits of ice baths. There is, another side to this, and my wife won't touch it. She hates it. She hates the thing. She would never go near it. She's tried it a few times, didn't agree with her. It's off the bucket list. It's shit for her. It's the PEMF, the red light, it's prioritizing sleep, all that sort of thing. So ice baths don't come into her vocabulary. So tell me, what are your views on the ice baths?
Look, cold therapy. A lot of people really like cold therapy. A lot of people have, really great outcomes from using cold therapy. I think that there is, you're never going to find a cold plunge at SweatLounge. And the reason is that while I think that but water bathing has a place, I love natural swimming. I love the old school saunas on the beach, and then you go jump in the sea and you're grounding, and it's just such a fantastic experience. And like I said, there are a lot of people that do have good outcomes out of using the cold water. But contrast therapy is not necessary for getting the health benefits out of sauna. And I think that there's a lot of confusion out there at the moment around the requirement to do the cold plunge to get the health outcomes. It's completely irrelevant. I personally think that if you are going to be doing cold water therapy, that the best time to do it is the first thing in the morning. I think the best time to do sauna, I do sauna all day, every day. But if we're thinking about it from like a sleep improvement perspective, doing sauna at night is really great. I own a longevity business. So SweatLounge, I like to say, we're going to give you a beautiful spa-like experience. You're going to have a great experience from start to finish, but I'm not a spa. I'm a preventative healthcare and recovery company, and I'm a longevity business. And I consider us to be a science-led organization. And the reason why I am delivering light therapy is because it is so incredibly evidenced in terms of what outcome you are going to get out of that experience. Infrared light is so safe that when babies are born premature and they need to be put in the NICU, and they use infrared light to help them regulate their body temperature. They're, out of every single study that you can possibly read. The only negative impact that you could have to be using infrared light, and that's the same as using a regular sauna, is dehydration. So you just need to make sure you're drinking your water and you're drinking your electrolytes, right? Now, with the cold, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances for why the cold plunge might not be appropriate for you. And particularly if we think about women's bodies, you have to be conscious of what time in your cycle are you using the cold plunge. How you're feeling from an emotional perspective. Is it a right time for you to be doing the cold plunge? If we think about longevity, and specifically women's longevity, the number one leading indicator for a woman's longevity as they move into perimenopause and menopause is your lean muscle mass composition. And there is a variety of different reasons for that. Now, you think about lean muscle mass composition, acquisition, and maintenance as being our North Star, right? For making sure that we're going to be vibrant and wonderful and running around and playing with our grandkids in the second half of our life. There have been studies that show if you do cold plunge immediately after exercise, that it reduces or ceases your body's response to that exercise and will cease production of lean muscle mass composition and collagen. Now, that doesn't mean that cold plunge is not something that you can have in your life, but you absolutely should not be doing it after you do an exercise, unless you are Ronaldo and you're playing 160, 175 games a year and you cannot be sore the next day and you're not worried about lean muscle mass acquisition. Then do not do a cold plunge after you do exercise. Now, all of these different factors are reasons why, if I'm looking to deliver these kind of health outcomes, go cold plunge at your house. Go do it at your house. That's great. For me as a business, it's just not, it doesn't align with our ethos as a company in terms of what we're looking to do. And there's just too many anomalies for me to want to be able to deliver it in a democratized fashion where I can control for outcomes, because ultimately I don't know what people are doing when they're not in my studio. I don't have the granularity. I don't know enough about them to know what's going on in their life to include that.
At the end of the day, with the sauna and the heat, you're trying to get to a desired outcome of getting the body hot, getting it to sweat. One of the first things you want to do after that, when I got out of the dome that I was at yours, I was really hot, really sweaty. The first thing I want to do is jump in a cold ice bath because you want to cool yourself down. But then you're stopping the progress of the next 10, 20 minutes of what you've just done in the sauna, because you're still sweating, you're still detoxing. There's all these things that's still happening that you're almost kind of putting the brakes on. And I think part of the problem with ice baths is the way they're sold. It's a really cheap thing to get into the house because, I did the same. I bought one of those inflatable ice baths, turned into a bubble bath after, I
bet the kids love it.
But the kids love it now as a paddling pool.
Yeah. Very expensive paddling pool.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the message of ice baths got very lost in translation when it comes to marketing, because you get these kind of cowboys that take on these products, and it goes from being something, for me, I think it's the mental aspects with ice bathing that I absolutely love.
It's a great mental resiliency tool. It's a fantastic mental resiliency tool.
But I think when it comes to the physical side of it, I don't get in my ice bath to build muscle. I don't get in my ice bath to heal from my injured ankle. That's where the PEMF, the red light, the infrared, all those sorts of things are way more effective. But I think where our ice baths are advertised these days in terms of just like the silver bullet, it's like get in an ice bath 10 minutes a day or whatever it is, and you'll be right as rain again. And I think that's the thing. It's just part of the puzzle.
People are just trying to sell shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Laura is doing a phenomenal job of I follow Laura. She actually lives not too far away from me. I would love to have her in my studio. I think these two things can absolutely coexist. Laura's doing a phenomenal job of educating the community around, how to use this, and the fact that she's built a device that's, has a little bit more intelligence in it means that you can tailor it to your own biometrics, and especially as women, like you can really get a little bit more sophisticated with it. And I have a ton of respect for what she's done because it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard.
And Laura is CEO of Monk,
Yes.
which is an ice bath manufacturer, which I've just installed one at my house.
Yeah.
So love it. It's great. If you're going to get an ice bath, it's the one to get.
Honestly, if you're going to get one, I would love to have one at my house.
Yeah.
I would love to have one at my house. Right. But so a couple of issues. That I have with contrast therapy specifically. It is absolutely overhyped. There's no doubt about it. It's overhyped. There are a lot of cowboys out there that are trying to sell you that ice bath is going to buy you a pony and solve all your life's problems. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. Now, with the contrast therapy, if you read the Harvard Medical website about sauna best practice, they advise you to wait 15 to 20 minutes after you get out of the sauna before you take a shower, before you jump in the water, before you do anything. Because the action of shocking your system to such a degree is not great, because you're not going from a baseline of body temperature. You're going from up here, right? And so if you're, especially for women who have small kids, you're in fight or flight. If you're going from a hot experience and you're jumping right in the ice bath, it is going to shock your system in a way that is not going to deliver you the health outcomes that you're looking to achieve, A. And B, it is very jarring on your cardiovascular system, okay? So if you have congenital heart defect and you're going really hot in a sauna and you're going to jump really cold in an ice bath, guess what? You could send yourself into a cardiovascular event, which you may or may not recover from. And again, as a business owner, as somebody who is looking to be a thought leader in the community and help give people positive health outcomes, like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Like, you know what? I'll just be a little bit different from everybody else, and that's okay. Right. And, the idea is that infrared light therapy can be as profound to your longevity as diet and exercise, but you need to use it and you need to go. Right. I'm not going to go to one spin class and be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It doesn't work like that. Right. You got to put in the work. And if I want to deliver those health outcomes to people, I have got to make a place where people are going to want to come all the time. And that's what we've done at the SweatLounge. Right. With the spas, with the cold plunge and doing that stuff, that's great. You can do that like a few times a year. But let's focus on things that are going to give you the health outcomes that you're looking to achieve. And like I said, this is my own personal anecdote, obviously, but God, in the last year, I've lost 65 pounds. I've reduced my biological age by 20%. I've improved my VO2 max by 20%. My sleep is floating around like 90 to 92 on Aura. I feel the best that I've felt in my adult life. With a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. It is an absolute miracle. I want to make a place where people are going to feel good again. Like I felt good again. I mean, the joke is I couldn't fit one of these things in my house. I live in London, so I couldn't fit one in my house. So I had to make a business for it. So yeah, I don't pay myself anything. I just get infrared sauna, infinite infrared sauna.
No, that's great. And we'll take a deeper dive in a few episodes time on the ice bath. So if you want to listen to that one, and we can talk about that. But no, you're looking great. You say you've made some amazing changes in your life. Are you doing any kind of supplementation or any hacks in that aspect? Something that you prefer, want to share?
I mean, unfortunately, I call myself the hillbilly Brian Johnson. Look, I am trying to make more data-driven decisions in this aspect. if I'm talking to your listeners, I'm talking to your listeners, and I want to give people, particularly women, advice on the top 4 to 5 supplements that are really going to move the dial for them. Creatine is the number 1. Magnesium is number 2. Omega-3 is number 3.
Creatine for men and women.
Every body on the planet should be taking creatine. I love creatine so much. I almost started a business for it, but I didn't.
You was talking to me about that, wasn't you?
I didn't. I'm focusing on the task at hand. I was this close. I was this close to doing it. So Pure Soul, you're welcome. I would have taken your lunch. I mean, honestly, they should take fluoride out of the water and put creatine in the water. It's if we think about the preservation of lean muscle mass composition, creatine is the most important thing that you should be taking every day. It's the most studied. It's the most longest studied supplement that we have as a community. I take it every day. It's changed my life. Not only do we think about creatine from a muscular protection perspective, but it is one of the most important things that you can take to preserve your neurological system. So 2 out of every 3 Alzheimer's disease patients are women. Women have 70 to 80% less creatine in their body. Your body makes creatine and you can eat it in food, but we're not making enough of it and we're not eating enough of it. Just take creatine, people. Take it. It's great. It will change your life in ways unimaginable. Omega-3, we know about the protective natures of omega-3. It's absolutely phenomenal. Make sure that you're taking an omega-3 that is, if you can find it, organic is great. Non-rancid. There's an issue with rancid omega-3. Don't try to save money on omega-3.
Yeah.
Get a good one. Magnesium blend. Amazing. Magnesium. Your body uses magnesium for over 40 different cellular processes inside of your body. And we are magnesium deficient. Women blow through magnesium because our cortisol is so high. We are running through magnesium like it's coal in a furnace. Let me tell you, supplement with magnesium, get a blend, because you want to make sure that you're getting different kinds of magnesium in your body. What else do I love at the moment?
I think it's really important that you've mentioned those 3 because I've just done my biological age with that glycan age one.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I love them.
It was quite cool to see.
What was it?
So I'm not telling anyone yet, but it was younger than my chronological age, but I'm trying to play with the results a little bit. So I'm trying to do some different supplementation, some different protocols, and I want to see how that affects it.
Who did you speak to? Did you speak to Irina?
Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I think it was Irina. Yeah,
she's good.
So coming back to what I was saying, it's important that you mentioned those 3 because we get sucked into this world of all this new shiny stuff going on, NAD plus, which I think is amazing. I think it's great. But we forget. I've been supplementing for a little while. I've been taking all these different formulas and trying different things. But I had that call with, I think it was Irina, and she said to me, "Are you doing omega-3? Are you doing creatine?" And I was like, do you know what? You just forget about those because I think where they've become to a point where they're very easy to get hold of, lots of companies doing them, and they're just in the back burner somewhere, and you forget that these are really like a magnesium is just the real cornerstones.
Vitamin D3 plus K2.
And vitamin D3. I know. And I've got one plus in the spray form now.
Yeah, I do too. Bare Biology do a really great omega-3 and a vitamin D product.
You can tell we've spoken to the same person.
Yeah. No, I started seeing them because I work with a company called Health.
Okay, yeah.
So they advise me on all this stuff. And I also then, have it available for my customers in the studio. But
and I think that's the takeaway for me is like, don't get lost too much. There's all these new ones coming out. Like I take one for myself specifically for like building cell health. And
are you doing urolithin A?
NAD plus and no.
You taking Timeline?
No.
Are you taking?
Timeline. Yeah.
That's urolithin A.
Yeah. So doing all these ones, but you just kind of forget about the ones that are.
Do you take NMN?
You have to. NMN is
NMM.
NMM is the NAD plus, isn't it?
It's the precursor to NAD plus.
Yes,
you
because
NAC?
it's the one that helps you produce NAD plus rather than actually injecting NAD plus. Yeah. So actually, we've got Nicola Condon coming on here too.
Oh,
which,
I know Nicola.
Yeah. So, and she is our speciality in NAD+.
And she's going to tell you about why taking NAD intravenously is a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. And she actually popped up on Instagram because I was injecting it on my feed, and she said, "You need to learn." So we got an episode coming out about NAD+ and how that's going to be. So
she's phenomenal. She's absolutely leading the charge on this this technology and this area of interest. I've known her for several years. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, no. So we'll have that one coming out soon. So anyway, Allison, we're gonna have to wrap this up soon. We could sit here and talk for hours, but if there's one main takeaway from this for our listeners that you want to kind of really drill home, what would you say?
I don't care what kind of heat therapy that you're using. Just use it. Use a traditional sauna. Use an infrared sauna. You know, if you don't have either of those options, take a really hot bath. Using heat as part of your lifestyle is the most profound thing you can do to impact your longevity outside of diet and exercise. And like I said, my goal is to improve the longevity for the entire UK population. If I die tomorrow, my legacy is just getting people to use heat more regularly as part of their lifestyle. The impacts across the board will just be absolutely remarkable and miraculous. And hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I have.
One little question that just popped into my head that I wanted to quiz you on before we leave this is, where I haven't got a sauna at home, and specifically after I left your place and I'd started thinking about getting heat therapy into my daily routine, I've started having some really hot baths.
Hot baths, yeah.
Is that a good alternative
if you don't have
Yeah. So, I mean, because I can get it, you can get your bath to a level where it's almost, uncomfortable, painful to get in. But when you get out, you're sweating for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. So what you're looking to achieve is to produce heat shock proteins. So heat shock proteins are essentially the proteins that will help damage proteins within your cell structure, which then build up and then cause inflammation. You will produce heat shock proteins taking a really hot bath, but take a 45-minute long bath and keep turning the heat up. See,
that's where I struggle, because I'd get it quite hot, and then same with a heat sauna. 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm out.
You gotta power through it.
Yeah.
You've got to power through it. But absolutely, a hot bath is gonna get you is gonna get you far down the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So and again, that's where I think coming somewhere like the SweatLounge is better, because it's not so uncomfortable as doing the heat, as doing a hot bath and that sort of thing. But it's a good
you're going to get the
mitochondrial
improvements and everything like that.
Yeah.
There are significantly more health benefits in using infrared. But if you don't have access to infrared,
yeah, that's
45 minutes hot bath,
cheap free hack. The good thing about London is there's loads and loads of wellness places setting up. And some of them try and tick every single box. They do all these different modalities, but also they do them in a group setting. So you've got saunas now that are 60-man saunas, 60 people saunas. But what I liked about the experience with SweatLounge was that it was very individual. I went in there, it was a very nice setting. It's all calm. The lighting in there is great. You've done, really nice with the kind of setting and everything in there.
I did it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Blood, sweat and tears went into that, literally. But it was just a really nice time to myself. And, you said to me, put the bloody phone down, give this half an hour to yourself. And I still didn't. I still had to post a picture of me being in there.
I mean, I appreciated that too.
But it was that time to myself, and that's what I think you're creating at SweatLounge, and where maybe it's a little bit different to.
Yeah. So look, social wellness is having a moment, and that's great. And it's a beautiful thing. God, when I was in my early 20s, I mean, how did you hang out with your friends? You went to the bar.
I mean, in the parks to start with bottles of what we call it White Lightning. I don't know if you get that.
We had Mad Dog 2020. It was grim.
White Claw and that sort of thing.
Oh God, yeah, really bad. And I love the fact that the younger generation are taking their long-term health a lot more seriously than certainly my generation did.
Mm.
Right. And I think that it's so amazing that there are these places that are creating spaces where people can go and socialize and meet each other and, have a time together that isn't revolved around alcohol.
Mm.
Right. Now, that being said, you are never going to find also a communal sauna at SweatLounge. Our approach is that those communal wellness places are fantastic. But the reality is that we want people to come and see us on a regular basis. So, we want to have people in anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. I mean, we've got people who have unlimited memberships who come in almost every single day, right? Now, what that means is that, at the SweatLounge, every single room is completely private. You're in your own private space. We've got the binaural beats or jazz, depending on who's playing music that day, in our Sauna system throughout. You have beautiful aromatherapy. It's quiet. It's dark. You're laid down. You're breathing fresh air. Nobody's bothering you. We've got a lot of people coming in, a lot of moms coming in, a lot of people who are really busy working, in the tube, going around every day, constantly around people. They just want to be away from people. For that moment of solace for 30 minutes. And so essentially that's kind of how we are unique to the other places that are doing the big social scene at SweatLounge.
Mm. Yeah. So you get that individual setting and it's just more time to yourself, different benefits.
It's more time to yourself. It's nice to spend 30 minutes by yourself and just be quiet and be still. And listen to your own music if you want to. I mean, God, I'm usually doing emails, unfortunately.
Yes.
But I'm also doing a lot of sauna. So yeah, it's your own prerogative on what you want to do with that time, and use it as a moment to have peace.
Where can people find you? Obviously, SweatLounge, if you want to let us know where that location is, but then how can people contact you if they want to?
So I am on Instagram, sweatlounge.london. We're located in Chiswick. That was our first site. We're opening up 2 new sites, one in Brentford and one in Fulham. And those will be alive by Christmas. And we're at sweatlounge.co.uk. You can follow me. I'm at sweatlounge.allison on Instagram. We have a TikTok that nobody's working on at the moment, but if you want to go watch some old videos, then they're there. And on LinkedIn, Allison Huff Ritchie, CEO and founder of SweatLounge.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on today. So
my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
And the first podcast you've been on, pulled the plaster off.
I know. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
Thanks for listening to another episode of the PEMF podcast. Can we just ask our listeners, we've got loads of listeners now, we're growing every month. We don't have everybody following us, subscribing to us. So if we can get you to do that, just take 5 seconds out of your day, then we can get more amazing guests like Allison on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.